here's part two. All right, dive right in. All right, so um, the police came to the house, self-defense. So now, because of who this guy is and his connections, they are actually afraid for my father's life now. Okay. They're also afraid of a lot of other things because there's things they should have done. This could have been prevented, like a long time ago. But they weren't doing their job. They were in fear. I know that sounds hard to believe, but it's real. So they were they're very nice to my father. Okay. So, and is it because they felt guilty? Is it because they felt like they needed to be really nice so that my dad didn't maybe report them? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but they're being very nice. So much so, this is what they did. They told my dad pretty much immediately, you're going to need to leave town. You're going to need to leave Longview because somebody's coming after you. Based on who this guy is and his connects, somebody's coming after you. So you need to get out of town. They actually found my dad a place to stay. Got him a connection with a job in this city. And I can tell you the city because it's not like we're hiding anymore, but he was it was in Oregon. Okay. They got him a connection with got him a job. They got him an apartment. They didn't pay like all the rent, but they hooked him up to where, hey, you're good. You got this job, your first payment, you pay the rent, good to go. So they hooked him all the way up, and maybe they did it just because they're good people. You add that up. So anyway, so my mom, goes with him. This is their man. She's sticking to him. They just had a child. And my mom went to go stay with my dad during this process. My dad was gone, and now he was there. He also went to Milwaukee for a while. Not a long time, but he went to Milwaukee. He went to Milwaukee. I think he went to Detroit for a second. And then he went back to his place. But where he lived really isn't that far from Longview. Like it was like basically 45 minutes away, 45-minute drive. For my dad, that's nothing. Like this is kind of how I am. I'm a driver big time. So from where I live, my buddies live literally an hour and 20 minutes away, but it's nothing to me. So he was kind of getting homesick. Okay. And he just needed to check on his family. He needed to go see his mom, go see his dad, his sisters, his nieces, his nephews, friends. So after approximately a year, he went back to Longview. He wasn't in Longview long. I would have to ask him again because I don't remember how long he was there when this situation I'm about to tell you happened. I just know he went back there, to see family. Well, he walked outside. I think my mom wasn't there for this. He walked outside and he bent over and he was tying his shoes. And he was waiting on somebody to come outside. And as soon as he stood up He tied his shoe and he set up, got up. As soon as he did that, like simultaneously as he did that, gunshot. Dad hits the ground. Boom. He don't know what hit him. He don't know what hit him, He heard something sound like a gunshot. All of a sudden, he's on the ground. He's what the hell? And then he's seeing blood coming from, like his waist. Basically, it came basically out of his waist. His blood coming out, and he stands up, and he's got his hand on the wound, and now he's just about to go. He's trying to go get in the car and drive to the hospital. So he immediately goes to the car, tries to open the car to get in the car to go to the hospital. But as he's doing this, thank God, because he wouldn't have made it. As he's doing this, my mom's aunt, who lived like next door, basically, my mom's aunt, somehow, I don't know if she was outside already. I don't know what the case is, but she came to his aid and she grabbed him, and she's going, "No, baby, no, you're not driving yourself to the hospital. You won't make it." And he's now at the point, he's laying on the ground. He's now at the point he's coughing up blood, kind of choking on his own blood. And she was taking, like, I don't know if there was chunks of things coming out of his mouth or what, but I was told that she was going in his mouth and removing, whether blood clot, I don't know, but was removing stuff out of his mouth. And, I don't know a whole lot about exactly this situation. It's a trip as far as like how he got to the hospital and whatnot. Now that I think about it, I'm assuming the ambulance was called. They picked him up and they took him. I don't think she put him in the car and she drove him. I really don't know, to be honest with you. I got to ask that question. But somehow he got to the hospital. Now, before I even get to the hospital, let me explain to you what happened to him. Because all I told you is there was a gunshot and he hit the ground. There was blood. Boop, boop, bloop, bloop, bloop. The person who shot him till this day has never been caught. People speculate about who it was, but nobody has been caught for shooting my dad. He was shot, they said, from between 1 and 200 yards off. They found the rifle. In fact, they said they had the rifle in the newspaper. When this happened, this was like front page for Longview. I've tried looking this stuff up. If you're watching this, you've heard, I've told you, Longview, Washington, sometime in the 70s. If you find something, please let me know. Put it in the comments. Let me know. I highly appreciate it. I've looked. I couldn't. It's almost like there's not really any records, like, that go back at that time. I don't know. But anyway, they found the rifle. Okay. And again, they said the shot was from between 1 and 200 yards off with a 30-06. Okay. This son of a bitch shot my father with a 30-06. They sniped him. Now, a lot of people began to believe it was the guy's brother that did it. Some of the police officers believed that it was possibly some members of the mob who did it. Because when they killed him, they shut off their money flow. Big time. They shut off all kind of operations. So nobody knows though for sure, you know. All the fingerprinting and all that. See, at that time, most places wasn't advanced in that at that time. Maybe a big city like New York may have had fingerprint proof in the 70s, but in this small town, they didn't have it like that. Okay. And so they had no proof of who pulled the trigger. All they know is it was from 100 to 200 yards off. They believe the person was elevated, so up on a roof or a high balcony, due to the way the bullet hit him and all that. And it was a 30-06. So what they believed the person was trying to do was actually shoot my dad in the head. He was kneeled over tying his shoe. But as soon as he set up, they shot. It was kind of like a same thing, kind of, and where the bullet hit him was approximately where his head was when he was bent over tying his shoe. So he gets to the hospital somehow. I don't know if my mom's aunt took him, ambulance took him. I don't know. But he gets to the hospital and he flatlines. There's no pulse. He's gone. And the doctor kept trying to revive, bring him back to life. And they said that this guy was like determined, why? You know what I'm saying? Just a good doctor, a good guy, from what I was told, other doctors or nurses around was like, gave up, like he's gone. And this doc or whatever just would not stop trying. He kept going. And sure enough, pulse comes back. And my dad was able to survive it. But it was a major situation. My dad was in a body cast for a year from this. I believe I don't know how much you guys know about hydrostatic shock, but I've always believed it because of this situation with my dad. Because the exit hole was not really that big. Neither was the entry, right? This is an odd 6. This is power, man, moving, And so much got damaged. Like his hip bone was shattered. That's one thing. Also on the entry, it just missed his spine, right? So it hit him in the waist, but right, they said if it was just like, not even an inch to the right, he would have been paralyzed. It was it. But it just barely missed, and it just came at this angle and it went down. And a lot of things got messed up, like it just, and so being in a body cast for a whole year, that's a lot of trauma. I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. It's an odd 6, but it's an odd 6 on a human too, And he was the skinny thing back then, And it's what makes me think that really is something, that temporary cavity, when it goes through that shock, that hydrostatic shock in his body, you know, it just it f's you up pretty bad. Um. So anyway, yeah, he was in a body cast for a year. Um. After my mom talked about how she used to help change the bandages and whatnot on my dad. So when I ended up with cancer and they did the surgery on me and my stomach was wide open, it brought back memories to her where she used to have to change out pads from open wound, you know, and the smell of blood and flesh. It has a smell to it, you know, when not dead like this person who's alive, but that it starts having a smell to it. My mom, all that stuff started coming back to her when I had my Whipple surgery. It was also very important to me that my dad was there going through my whole surgery and whatnot, because I know my dad's been through the worst, and to have him there to go, you can do it. I did it. You can do it. It was a lot, you know. It was a lot. So bear with me. So it was a big thing that my dad was there with me to get me through all that. So anyway, um, you know, after that, you know, my dad had to have some hip surgery and all kind of other stuff I don't know about. But he can no longer bend his left leg. So as if my arm is his leg, right? Um, he can't bend it like, you know, we can bend our legs, right? He's limited to about that. That's all he can do with that leg. And so he walks with a limp. In fact, if you've ever seen the first Terminator, when Arnold Schwarzenegger gets all burnt up at towards the end of the movie, and then he's just all robot and he's walking after them, like trying to go kill them, and they're running into the uh, the place or whatever. If you remember that walk that that the robot did going after him, that's how my dad walks. It's exactly how he walks. Um, and he's been, well, you know, ever since, and could have easily, you know, filed for handicap, all that, but he was young when this happened. I also understand that he was an athlete, big time. You know, he was a track star in the town. Um, he was basketball player. He was a big time athlete. So when this happened to him at fresh 18, it took his identity away. You understand? Like, he didn't know, what do I do now in life? He had all these dreams and all these aspirations, and now he can even bend his leg. All that's gone. His identity is screwed. You know, he don't know who he is. He don't know what to do. My mom helped him through all that, you know. Um, and so did it, you know, other family members and whatnot. Um, but you know, he got through it. He survived it. They told him he would never be able to have children. And well, here I am. So that's the story. There's another story um, I can tell you guys about when we got robbed and tied up. Um, I was alive then. I was young, but I was alive. I can tell you about that on another video. But yeah, that's about the end of it. If you have questions, you can leave it in the comments, and also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But if you have other questions, feel free to ask in the comments. If I know the answer, I'll give the answer to it. And also, or I try to reach out to my dad and possibly ask him that question. It is a very, again, you can understand that I've told you the story. It's a very delicate situation. It's a very delicate story. So it's not really talked about, right? It's known, understood on a major level, but it's not talked about. Okay. But he's getting up there in age now, and I think he might even want the story to be told. And when I told him I was writing a book, um, he thought that was a good idea, and so did my mom. So, um, and like I said, I could write my whole book could be just him in this situation. I can go in and get all these details about everything because there's a lot I'm leaving out, you guys. Um, but it's because it's more of there's names I'm leaving out. There's all kinds of stuff, but it's because it's such a delicate situation. I'm telling it just the way I just told it, and nothing more. Um, but in the book, I'm going to go into more detail. So um, that's that. That's that. Yeah, it's a trip. I'm here. I am that I am. If I wasn't, then I'm a scam. My dad died and came back. Basically, I'm a plan. Whammy out.